What does it mean to have been able to stay in our homelands? There is a lot of trauma, a lot of pain, a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of envy, and a lot of misconceptions. What it means to have been able to stay here um, in our homelands. It's painful to be able to be standing at Split Rock that overlooks Mawaway, the gathering place, and look out to Manhattan and see those buildings, right? They seemingly rose out of the ocean was no different than when those big sailing ships appeared on the horizon. We as Muncie people, um, we weren't the savages, nor are we the savages that are written about, by the Dutch, by the Germans, by the English. Um, if that was true, then not one fur trader would have ever left this soil. They would have never have made it back. You know? And so for us to be the ones who stayed here, we lost a tremendous amount of our culture, of our lifeways, of our access to rivers. When it comes to tribes specifically in the Northeast, um, no one looks at the fact that we live in diaspora too, right? We're not living where we would have been. We don't travel down the river, to New Brunswick, and where the college is, and utilize those fields that were there as our place for the summertime, right? Where we would build our wigwams and cover them with reeds and make reed mats and, you know, um, eat the oysters and clams and the fish when they're migrating before we would return, you know, um, in the fall for harvest. No one thinks about that, right? Just because we're still living in our homeland doesn't mean that we're still living in our home. You know, we're living where we are forcibly um, made to live. You know, we don't have freedom to, have wild animals be a part of our yard, or we don't have the honoring of our treaty of 1758, where our ancestors reserved as rights for us Muncie speaking people, those who stayed and those who left, to hunt, right, to fish, to gather. Our ancestors reserved the right for us to give up farming, cultivation, that we had practiced forever, to reside still in this space. So we went back to hunting. We went back to gathering. We went back to fishing. We went back to the place that we knew that was going to protect us, and that is the Lamawa Wanjiku. That's the Ramapo Mountains, right? It has been our safe harbor for a few hundred years now, right? You know, we've been subjugated to pollution and dumping, and not just dumping on our traditional homelands, but dumping where we would collect wild edibles and medicinals and fruits and nuts, where we would hunt, raccoons and squirrels and deer. Unfortunately, in the society in which we live in today, which is so young, I mean, it's not even 300 years old, that they like to put labels on things. And then they label us as activists, right? For us and our ancestors, right, in colonial times, for those who stayed here, we had to wear red armbands to walk into their villages. And that would signify that we were coming in peace. If we didn't wear one of those, we were summarily shot, or hung, you know. And that's the society in which we grew up in, you know. And when they created the eugenics was literally created on the Ramapo people, you know. Their field workers from the New Jersey Violent Training School or the Cold Spring Laboratory in New York would come to the Ramapo Mountains, walking on trails just like this one by this river, and come across our people and write down every single thing there was about them, right? Like the old scribes, in those ships. I would say that if there's one thing that has never left us, right, is our spirit and our connection to our Mother Earth. That when it comes our time, that our sun sets, that we walk to the west, that our remains, our bones are going to be in the same hollow ground as our ancestors, and that when that water, that mbi, that comes from the sky, that passes through the leaves of the tree and hits the soil and goes through absolutely everything that has ever lived on this planet, to include the bones of our ancestors, that's why our water is so sacred to us. That's the one thing that even the strongest, most powerful governments of the world can never take away. It's what's beneath our feet. It's what falls from the sky.